I think it's time to begin this session, which is broadly titled as Teaching and Learning Online. So we have two topics mainly. One is a very trending topic lately. It's about the massive online open courses. Probably everyone who is here probably knows what that is. Maybe, if not, the speakers will explain. So we have Yves Epelboin from the University of Paris Marie Curie, who will explain to us what is going on in this field, especially in Europe. And then we also have two fellow guys from Spain who will present their project in this space, the software they have developed. And the second topic and the last presentation is the efforts in Norway for deploying lecture recording services at the national scale, and their progress in the recent years, and how especially they have invested in giving back to an open source project called the Opencast Matterhorn. So without further ado, Yves, you can start.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Zino Musmlas, and I'm the chair of this session.
Okay, I hope the slide will go on. I'm sorry for the member of the advisory board, because part of the slide will be the same than this morning. Well, let's speak of MOOC, which is a massive open online courses, the concept. Is it a new concept or not? You will see. There is really an international tsunami coming on with MOOC nowadays. Everybody speaks of that. Some people think it's a revolution in teaching and learning, some not. Just a controversy start. It's really time for everybody, from the people who are running the network, people like UNIS, the organization I'm representing, who are linking university together, for teachers, for University Senate, to think together in Europe about that. And there's a big pressure from Brussels. Every time somebody goes to Brussels, they say, what are you doing about MOOCs? So that there was an announcement, 23rd of April, and a number of university and European organizations are starting their MOOC. And there are other European initiatives linked to MOOC, but not different, like the Multimedia Task Force at Terena, also the e-learning task force at UNIS, and other going together. At the end of this week, there will be a European MOOC summit in Lausanne at EPFL, which was one of the first universities in Europe to join an American consortium that very successfully. I was in the US in November at the EDUCAUSE conference, and MOOC was a very hot topic. I'm part of the first French MOOC going on with our own platform, not so on, I will explain later. And the question is, why a new platform? We're not using a new one. So MOOC, it's a US vision in the beginning. How can it be applied to Europe? It's a question. So we'll go now in the MOOC itself. This is the Gartner hype curve. MOOC is on a summit for the moment. I have hints that it's already going slightly down. It will go sometime in the dwarf of disillusion to go back to the plateau of productivity later. But it's still very high. So it's time to join. But why MOOC? Let's have a vision of what university is in the US and why and how MOOC is a solution of the big crisis that they have now in the university there. The business model of American university is very different from the European one. It's based on the industry. So the student is a customer. They pay for education and that to receive something. They pay by study. You are receiving such and such study, you pay for such and such fee. And at the same time, like any company, university has to attract the best customer. And remember also that you do not have some kind of standard for diploma. All diploma are local and may vary in the same university with a department. And there's always a question of profitability of this industry. In fact, there are quite few permanent people, and the number of people are having tenure is decreasing these years. And tuition also pay for research in most non-profit university. And the public university have about the same model, except that there is some funding from the state. As I said, there's an economic crisis. Tuition fees are coming to a very unacceptable level for everybody in the American university. It's over $10,000 in public university, up to $60,000 in private university. And I'm not speaking of medicine study, which can be at $100,000 a year. I'm speaking of tuition fees only. And the debt of the student is about 1,000 million. It's incredible debt. The mean value nowadays is 25,000 when it was only $15,000 in 2004. In 8 years from now, it has doubled. And there are 40 million loans instead of 20 million. So if you go to what it means for the economy in this country, it's the next financial bubble which will explode one of these days. So they have to solve that in some way, to decrease the price of the tuition. And in fact, students already are very different from our students. Only 30% are in primary education. Most of them are working, then coming to the university, save money and going back to the university. And so the question of money is very sensitive to that. So one way to reduce the cost of tuition is to use information technology. And MOOC seems to be a solution, as I will explain. So don't be fooled. I'm not against MOOC. It may appear in the talk going on. I'm for the MOOCs, but in a different way, and not for the reason which is now the main reason in the American university. So in a MOOC, you may have over 140,000 students, at least registered. The drop rate is rather high. We don't know really which is the drop rate now, because a number of people register in MOOCs because they are curious about MOOCs. It's too early to know about that. It's pure distance learning. Since you cannot speak together in any way with so many students, you have to replace the teacher by something, automatic test, and something which is quite new, peer control and peer review. So there is some kind of social participation. It's a Web 2 participation, which is part of the MOOC. And at the end, you may have, not in all MOOCs, but in many MOOCs, you may have some credential. It's not really a degree, it's a credential. And you may have it for free, or for instance, Coursera now sell a certification with an electronic signature in that for a price between $100 and $300. I will come back on that later. This is a list of the main actors. So edX, which is one of the primary actors, which wants to be open to the public and wants to be free. In fact, Coursera just released its software. Coursera, who wants to be elitist and wants to make money. Canvas, who also wants to be open to the public and to be free to all university. Udacity is a private company to make money. You can have a course on Excel, Word, anything of that kind if you wish. FutureLearn is an extension of the Open University in UK and starting now. And I discovered there is also a project in Spain, and some people can speak more about that, MyriadX, with OpenMOOC, which is an open software for that. And what is the funding for this consortia? edX funding is about $60 million. Coursera, I've written $100 million. I'm not sure of the figure. It's not very well known. And the price to put a course in such platform and to prepare a course is between $100,000 and $600,000, including salary for staff and so on. And to design a course is a full-time job. because it's a high-quality course. And this diagram you can see later on the slide show you all the trends for this main consortia. So what is the business model? It is yet to come. There is a general model for open education for everybody. But the point is, who will fund for this model? There's a realistic model where part will be free, part will be paid, like it was already in the Open University, where you could have some course for nothing, but you had to pay for degrees and for other courses. And the industry will come, or is coming, in the field in competition with classical study in university. And do not forget, it's also a means to increase the higher education productivity. These figures are already old since I wrote them. The number of courses in Coursera is much higher now, at least it's doubled since that date. And it's going from an open courseware concept to a pay model. And you pay for certification to get today, as I said, in Coursera. And now, if you want to have an examination for some university, Wiley is organizing examination assessment in rooms like this one, where students will pay just to have the right to pass the assessment, and then they will have some kind of degree, and they can use this degree in some university. But of course, it's cheaper than going full-time in the university. So MOOCs are really a capital behind the technology. And in fact, if you go in many different, you look at a different paper on the web about MOOCs, they say that university has been the sole business which has not been trying to decrease its expenses in the last 10th century. That means decreasing the salaries. And one way to decrease the salary is to decrease the number of persons you have in front of students. And MOOC is a very good solution, because with 140,000 students, which is really a big MOOC, but a number of MOOCs in Europe have no more than 5,000 students. But nevertheless, for 5,000 students, you may have 5-6 teachers in front of them, which is a good bargain in main for the salary. So what can be the model for Europe, where universities are mostly state-funded, where we have some kind of standard for degrees and so on? Will it be mass and open to all the public? Is it less expensive than our classical distance learning model? And what kind of organization can we have? Centralized at the level of Europe, centralized at national state, or shall we merge with a US consortium? All the questions are open for the moment. And what is the funding problem? First, you need a learning platform. Not exactly like before, because learning platforms were thought today for personal relationship between students and teachers. You had maybe a few hundred students in front of a teacher, no more than that. But you need a piece of software. You need support staff and teacher. Support staff to prepare the document for mediatization and so on. And of course, you need contents provided by the teacher. I have to emphasize that up to now, in most MOOCs, including in the US, Coursera, edX, and other, the staff, I mean the teacher, were not paid. There were some kind of volunteer. I say some kind because a number of them had a big pressure from the university to teach in the MOOCs. And that is not solved today. So all these questions are open. I will try to give some hints if I may so. So there are two kinds of MOOCs. There is a CMOOC, which is some kind of connectivity MOOC. In fact, some kind of MOOC which doesn't need a platform, where everybody share its knowledge. It's a crowd knowledge which is going together. In that case, people have to exchange, to discuss, find documents, and the teacher are there only to give hints and direction to the student. Certification is not the most important thing about that. What is important is to be part of a network for life and for either for profession or just for you on education. The other MOOC is XMOOC, which is a more classical kind of study, where you replace the course in the theater by something which IT only. And nobody knows where the X comes from. Some say it's coming from ADX, but really nobody knows today. So you replace the main lecture in the hall, like I'm doing now, by videos, and you provide a number of documents to students, either a document developed for the MOOC, or you can find documents all around the world in any open educational resources platform, as you wish. Application classes are replaced by forum, exchange among participants. Students drive each other with since there are no teacher or there are very few teachers, they only give some in from time to time, but they cannot follow each student every day. It's some kind of crowd learning, when they have assessment, you have classical quizzes, and also students may check each other. And for instance, in Coursera, when you give your assessment, you receive 4 assessments from other students to check, and you give credential to the other student then. And at the end, you can have a certification, as I said before. The question is it a 21st century answer to the problem of education? Because we know that information is everywhere, and every information is accessible from any place. A teacher in the theater complained that students have their tablet or their computer open and check everything. So there's a crisis for the course, for the main course. At the same time, a MOOC is supposed to be open to everybody and participatory, which is quite a change, where the discussion is going in one direction only in a theater. It is, of course, distributed. And also, you have a network which is extending among all the students. So, up to now, we spoke of blended learning. Now we speak of flipped learning, because we're making the student active. I will go very fast about this slide. It's a very young technology. A number of platforms are being developed nowadays. And it's... in fact, now each consortium has its own platform. And I want to mention all these platforms are new, but for instance, we are using a standard learning platform, Sakai, and Chlorine, which is a platform which was developed in Belgium, is now adapting itself to be a learning platform. And this raises already the question, why to develop new platform instead of extending classical learning management platform for new web social participation. Learning platform in open source have been taking time and time to be working. Why to start a new one? This is a question I have no answer to that one. You need a cloud architecture. So it's not at the level of a university to start a MOOC. You need a consortium and a cloud. All MOOCs are in a cloud. Coursera, for instance, is using Amazon, and so it's a classical structure, and you open as many virtual servers as you need, corresponding to the demand. My friend at University of Amsterdam explained to me that they opened a MOOC, and they spoke of that in the 8 o'clock news in the evening, and they're switching on a platform every 1 hour after that to sustain the load. So let's have a look at the trends in Europe. A MOOC is not a resource in a platform. In many universities, the learning management system is mainly a place to store documents for the student. A MOOC is much more. Many platforms can be used as MOOC if you use the pedagogical tools, but it's becoming mandatory in a MOOC. It was not in a learning management system until now. And so you require a full redesign of most courses and of the document that you have to be adapted for a public which will use it as the only means to listen to teacher, to exchange with teacher. For instance, you cannot watch a video for 1 hour. You can watch a video and learn in a video for a shorter time. So in many places in Europe, they are speaking of small MOOC for their own use to replace the course in the theater. And then the student will learn by themselves. It's a case in Lausanne at EPFL. They have suppressed a number of courses in physics. Students follow the course in a MOOC. Then every week or every 2 weeks, they have a seminar with the teacher who will answer to questions and exchange with students who are supposed to have done some assessment and so on. And at the end of the MOOC, the student has a classical examination. At the same time, for a reason I may say, they use the same MOOC for a large area for people. Why are they using the MOOC for external people? Because it's exactly the same tools. It doesn't cost much more to use it outside. It's good for the reputation of the university. And the people in Lausanne explained to me that the place where they can recruit students is rather small because they speak French, and most French people are not ready to pay in Switzerland for the price of education. So they want to extend their basin to all Black Africa where they speak French. So they want to make it known and recruit new students. MOOC is a way for university, is a way to make them known and to recruit new students. So I spoke already of, I'm giving them all the services you need a MOOC. So it's very, very expensive and you need a lot of people. In my university, I have the platform. I have the people to mediate, to transform the document. I have the people for the video, but I'm able to sustain 1, 2, 3 courses in the MOOC, no more than that, because I do not have enough people for all this big business at the same time. Also, everybody say, and if you go to some MOOC, you have to have a good quality of document. Once again, it's not only because for your reputation, it's also because it will be the only means for the students to study. It's not an additional means that the students have and who also follow the courses. And the decision is in the hand of the stakeholder. Who are the stakeholders? It's depending on the organization. The first stakeholder at the university, with autonomy going on in the European university, is really depending on university senate and rectors. And they have to make the decision. Since in Europe the intervention of the state is important, it's very depending upon the state too, and the decision of the state. If the state wants to fund a consortium, a national consortium, or help some university, or participate to something else. So what our choice today? Merging in existing consortia? I'm not convinced that a lot of people want that. In Lausanne, they have courses in Coursera, but I'm not sure from what I exchanged with them that they want to stay in Coursera because they are in the middle of something I would say which is purely oriented toward the US now with the US spirit and also wants to make money with that. So will it be university consortia around your university associations such as AUR or LERU and other associations? And what is the role of the NRN, and what is the role of an organization like myself in that? It's a question we have not the answer today. This morning, in the advisory board, there was a question raised, and most of the NRN have never been asked by their country to be part of a MOOC project. It's the same for us in UNIS. I'm passing this one, it will come later. So, is MOOC a revolution? No, it's not a revolution because the Open University in UK since '92 is some kind of open, massive education. It was using TV instead of new technology, but the basic was the same, with too few teachers and a lot of students. Yes, because it's the answer to some kind of economical situation which is replacing face-to-face education by an economical way. Is it a new way of teaching? Yes, because students have to be proactive, have to be active, to learn without teacher, and they have to acquire competency. CMOOC for that are especially interesting because students are working are building project together in some way. What about assessment of knowledge and competency? Automatic quizzes will never suffice, and anyway, it's progressing. one word which I didn't pronounce is learning analytics. There is a big effort being made in the new teaching, in the new MOOC platform about learning analytics to understand the comportment of the student and so on. And this may be of interest to later assess the value of the work of the student together with peer-to-peer control. So MOOC will not replace face-to-face teaching or any equivalent mean, but they can complete or be part of the system at the same time with a face-to-face teaching. The example of Lausanne is a good one, where the theater has been replaced by the MOOC, but the student encounter the professor. And it will be never equivalent to face-to-face teaching. And I have a good example of that. In France, we have a very crazy system for first year of study in medicine. Everybody is allowed to enter the first year of medicine. At the end of the year, you have a very special assessment and we retain only a few students. For example, in my university, the first year we have 2,500 students in medicine, and we retain a little less than 500 students at the end of the year. All courses are video recorded and distributed in real time. Finally, students look at the course at the time of the course. We have picked up to 1,500 students at the time of the courses. And after that, the student can look at the course. They have all the documents available. And they have each week encounter with the student. Why do we have video? Because our larger theater is 500 students. So we have a system for the student to come to the theater. And the theater is already crowded. All places are taken by the student who wants to be in front of the student. More than that, all around the campus, we have private company who, for an extensive price, 3,000 € or more, deliver small courses for the students. And we know that the most successful students are the students who have been following not only what we deliver to them, but have been paying the 3,000 €. So face-to-face teaching is really the most efficient system anyway, but it has some price. Some industry leaders try to make us believe that MOOC can be an efficient alternative to that, but as a teacher myself, I cannot believe that. So anyway, MOOC will introduce a number of changes. Change in distance learning. Up to now, at least in France, distance learning is based on the university year, first semester, second semester, and is presented to the student in the way it is presented in university, credit after credit. I believe that the MOOC will change the timing. A MOOC will start at different time in the year, not based on the university time. And instead of the full courses that we have in the university, we'll cut them in short pieces so that students can take one course in one university, complete it in another university through a MOOC. And of course, for external people, because I believe that our mission is not only to teach students, but to distribute knowledge all around us, some people will come and be interested in a small course. A course in a MOOC is never more than 6 to 7 weeks, you know, and take another one. So it's a chance to come in continuous education also. It will be also very used for prerequisite and remedial courses. And in fact, in my university, we are thinking about using MOOC for that very soon. And of course, there will be a battle with business for alternative graduation. If a certification given by an American consortium such as Coursera is taken by the industry as equivalent to a diploma, we are in bad shape. And we don't know yet where we are with that. So MOOC will have a major impact, and we cannot avoid them in our university. Thank you. Yes?
Do I need a microphone?
I don't know.
Hi, Andrew Cormack from Janet, and OU graduate twice. So having studied with the Open University, I regard somebody who turns up as an interview candidate with an OU degree as actually better qualified than somebody from a bricks and mortar university, because I know about their time management, about their motivation, things like that. are MOOCs going to be able to capture that, or does the change in timing, do you lose that?
I don't know. I believe that to go to the end of a MOOC, you have to be very motivated, and that's sure. And I think also that MOOCs is a good way in a university as a remedial for unmotivated students. So I think we can have the best of both systems together.
Hi, it's Luis Coelho from Brazilian Network. How do you get involved with the MOOCs, and how many people you have already working, producing those courses? I'm working in the national MOOCs. We have decided to use Sakai, which is an open source platform, as a MOOC because we knew the platform, so we're using it also. We had people from 7 universities participating in that. Altogether, let's say 10 teachers together. A few, and in fact, the platform itself was not too much a burden because we knew it already and 3 universities have been participating. For the moment, we have a test platform with only 1,300 students. The real MOOC will open in November. And we know that some tools are missing in the platform. At the end of June, we will decide which tools have to be developed. We expect them to be developed before the end of October to open the course to a population, and then we expect to have between 5,000 and 10,000 students.
Hi, Domen from Academic and Research Network of Slovenia. Do you have any thoughts on how MOOCs are going to influence the labor market?
No, it's a very important question for us because we can be in trouble if company use that. We can really be in trouble. But it's really an open question.
Hi, I'm Chris Nakin from the South African National Research Network. So I am actually quite a keen user of MOOCs. I regularly use them to just learn something new. And I find that because there's no accreditation, it's very for me to do the course and then just not write the exam, because why? You know, it's just going to take more of my time, and I've already gained the knowledge. But now my question is related to this one. If you do hand out credit and you do get a degree, then in essence the value of your degree, of that prestigious degree, starts decreasing in the labor market. And however, at the same time, the more people that get a degree, I can imagine then that these extreme ludicrous salaries that gets paid for people with a good university will also sort of flow into the mix. And one would hope that it's sort of an overdamped system that would level out at some stage where people would probably be paid for what the education is truly valuable for. And I would hope to see that happens.
Yes, I agree with you. And that different way of using MOOC. If you use your MOOC as primary education, it's not the same that if you're already involved in a job and you need some additional skills, you take that education and you don't care too much about certification. But we may have tomorrow the following thing. Private companies such as Microsoft or Google build full courses, and a number of universities buy a course from a shelf, and then they say to the students, you follow this course, and they give some additional face-to-face teaching and some assessment at the end as a degree. So you will come to a standardization of education in many universities. You may see that in a very somber view in a short video, a 15-minute video, which is available on YouTube called Edu@2025 by Richard Katz, who is a former vice president of EDUCAUSE. And he's making some kind of history of higher education from Platon up to 2025 with a very somber view. And that is, if you standardize education, if you have only one course in the world for a given subject, I think it's a big loss for humanity.
Would you like to tell everyone about the report you prepared for UNIS? some statistical data.
No, not it's early.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Yves. We have to move on to the next presentation because time is pressing. So here is the OpenMOOC project. So should I use this microphone? You can use the microphone as you just said. Do you want to use the headset?
No, that's fine.
So I use this to go far, and you can see here what's going on. You have to introduce yourself because I was thinking.
So good afternoon. My name is Lorenzo Gil, and
I'm Sixto.
Sixto Martin. And we both are from a small company in the south of Spain. We are a development shop. We were asked to develop a MOOC platform last year in the late July. Sorry, in the late of July in 2012. And we're gonna show you what we did and which problems do we have and this kind of stuff. And it's a more technical presentation instead of a more philosophical and in the concept of MOOCs, what MOOCs are and what are they are not. We're focusing on a technical solution. So this is what we're talking about. First, we're going to talk about how was the MOOC scene when we started and how it's now. What is the history of a MOOC, why it was created. I agree with the previous presenter that there are now too many solutions, but we're going to explain why we create a new one. What were and what are the design goals that we have, something about the software architecture, and I think what is probably one important point and maybe one that you can learn is what actually we learned building this OpenMOOC software. So we will show you later what are the functionalities and what is the future. And what are problems yet to be solved because we don't have a solution. And finally, we'll show you some case studies of people using this software for production. Okay. So if you now see the MOOC scenes, it's actually pretty crowded. But you can have like a graph where two axes, and one of them is how open or closed is the software that you use, and the other one is how open or closed is the content that the student gets. So in one case we have like free or open courses. In the other spectrum we have payment model where you have to pay for the courses, and in the other axis we have a closed software platform where you don't have access to it, or you can have open source platforms. And there are a lot of, and probably much more than we show here, but you can see that there are many solutions right now because, as we all know, it's a very popular and trendy topic. So the OpenMOOC software was started in August 2012. And when it was started, there was not really open source MOOC platforms. And we will explain later what are the components of OpenMOOC, and you will learn that it's not really a very big new project. It's the sum of already existing projects. So we didn't actually write many things because we reused a lot of things that already existed. So and one thing that we really wanted to do is to release every single line of source code from the beginning, because many other projects that today are open source, they were not at the beginning, but then at some point they published the source into open repository. But we really wanted to do it from the beginning because we thought that would be more honest, and maybe we would get more collaboration doing this way. So our design goals are not very special, are pretty familiar to many of you. So we wanted to build something flexible and obviously very scalable, because the M for MOOCs is for massive, and so we were not focusing on tens or hundreds of students. We were looking for 100,000 or probably millions of students. So we have thought into our minds from the beginning. And we also wanted to make it very simple and intuitive, because today usability is a major concern for people, and they want something really easy to use. And if your platform is not easy, it's going to be a blocker, and they're gonna look for something else. And this, I already talked about this. We wanted to make something that already used different components that were very good. So why should we write everything where we can take something from the open source community that is actually good and work? So what are the parts that make OpenMOOC? So first of all, we're using an identity provider for user information and attributes. And one of the reasons we wanted to do this is because we wanted to make sure that if a university wanted to use our software, it's already federated. You don't have to do anything. You just can forget about OpenMOOC identity provider and use your own one. And this is something that I don't know if any of the other OpenMOOC solution already have. But this is one thing we did from the beginning. So the next component is a question and answer kind of forum. I don't know if you are familiar with software like OpenStack, OpenExchange, or Stack Overflow website. So this is very similar, and it's based on an open source solution. And then we have a wiki, which is also based on an open source solution. And then what we have is a small part which we call mock engine, which is the one thing that we wrote. Okay, and everything is integrated using SAML2 protocol, and there is single sign-on, of course, between all these components, and it's quite easy to integrate new components using the same protocols. So actually talking about specific names of the software that we use. Okay, we use SimpleSAML PHP for the IDP with a plugin called user registration for the user to register inside the IDP. And we store the information that we're using in OpenLDAP. Then for the mock engine, we are using the Django web framework and Python language. And we are storing the information of the courses in PostgreSQL, and we are storing the information of the students and their interaction in MongoDB. For the question and answer software, we're using AskBot, which is also a Django software, but in this case, it stores the information in MySQL database. And for the wiki system, we use Moin, which is also a Python software that, but I think that is actually wrong. It doesn't use PostgreSQL. It just stores the information in the file system. Okay, so one of the early decisions that we made is split the data according to the expected growth. So we thought that courses information is quite static. The courses content that the teachers create is pretty much one thing that never actually changed. But the student interaction can grow very, very fast. So that's why we use Postgres for courses and MongoDB for student interaction. We believe that was a good design decision, but something that we didn't get so good at from the beginning, it was the MongoDB schema design. We'll talk about this later. Yeah, you cannot see that, but in some very high load situation, MongoDB can drop some errors on the floor without telling you anything, and you need to be careful about having your MongoDB very healthy.
Because you can lose data.
Yeah, you can lose data. So the problem with the MongoDB schema, it was that at the beginning was really hierarchical content schema. So we have just two collection, activities and answer, and we have very big nested documents. So for example, for a student, all their interaction in a course was stored in a single document in MongoDB, and that was a very bad decision. We already fixed that, but we learned that you should not do that with MongoDB, because every time you change a small piece of that document, the whole thing needs to be reallocated, and it's very, very bad for performance. So you don't have many students or not very big courses, that's gonna be probably fine. You're not gonna find this problem in development, but as soon as you get massive, it's gonna be really a big problem. So we changed that, and we changed the schema to be a lot of small documents, highly denormalized, and now we use map and reduce operation to compute the grades and other stuff, and now it was much better. So what does it do? The whole thing, the MOOC engine and all the other components of OpenMOOC. So we use videos and slide integration for the main contents of information for the courses. We have like a screen with progress bars where students can assess how much of the course they are actually done or how much is left. We have a social discussion forum, like where it's very social, and people can vote which question and which answers are the good ones, and so they go up into the list. We have what you see is what you get, editors and latex interface for math courses or scientific courses, so teacher can use equation and this language. As I said before, everything is federated using identity federated technologies, and all the components do that just-in-time creation of the students and users. And we also use on gamification techniques like medals and badges for assessing that your social behavior on the forum is success, and also if you pass on points on the courses, you get some badges. Okay, we also have a teacher admin interface, so he can create and manage the courses. And we also have a statistic and communication, so the teacher can send an email to all the students of his courses, and he also, and this is very interesting, he also can see a statistic of how many people are enrolled in the course, how many people are doing are watching the videos and answering the question, and for every unit, and then you can see graphs. So you can see what the previous speaker already said, that people, there are many people at the beginning, but they started to drop off very soon, and the ratio is not very good right now. So people are using this data to actually learn why students get less interested in the course, and maybe it's because the contents are not very good, or maybe it's because the students are not very motivated by this kind of courses. We don't know, but if in the teacher administration, you actually can see what's going on. We also have a wiki, which actually is not really finished the integration, but we are working on that. Sorry. And we have this peer review exercise where the teacher just said the topic of the exercise and how many students should review every exercise, and then there's this module that when a student sends an exercise, he can start reviewing other student exercises and get the same thing back, and until he has reviewed a number of other students, he doesn't get his grades, and it's quite complicated, but it actually works pretty good. We also have some assets management. So, for example, if one course needs some external resources from the platform, like he wants to use a university laboratory for like a virtual computing or something like that, you can use this system to book the resources and or to be able to work in groups of students using other resources. And we also have some limited support for communication with external billing system. We'll see that in some cases you want to charge for some parts of the course. So what we want to do in the future, we want to add content filter and user moderation to improve the statistics, because right now they are today they are very basic, but there is a very big potential of what you can do with, because there is a lot of data in the system from the students. We want to do some platform and infrastructure things like permissions and role system and messaging system. And as you see, there are a lot of ideas that we have. We want to keep improving the system. So one of the things that people ask when they're thinking about implementing a MOOC or not, and they actually ask us how to do is how to monetize an open MOOC instance. And we honestly, we don't have any really good idea, but we have some experiments that we have done. Some of them work, some of them don't, but this is what has been done already on this software, and so we want to share our experience. Some people want to add some contextual advertisement. Some people are thinking about creating a course where the first unit is free, and if people get really engaged on the course, then they pay for the rest of the units. And I think this is not a very bad idea, because it actually is related with the concept that many people enroll on the course and then leave very soon. So maybe if they don't like the first unit, they don't have to do the whole thing, but that's a reason that the first unit should be free. And then the option and is working most for our customer are the certificates. Like it's quite amazing how many students are willing to pay a very small amount of money for a piece of paper that, in our opinion, is not very worthy, but they really want the paper. So, but if you put this together with the fact that there is a lot of students in a course, like thousands or hundreds of thousands students, actually charging them for like €5 or €10, that gives you a lot of money. So then the other things we want to talk is some things that we experience is the teacher's fiction. So, and not in the MOOC topic is actually very popular, and teachers are talking about either if this is gonna replace regular courses, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about traditional online courses with traditional LMS and this other LMS, which because our MOOC platform is also a LMS, but it's very different from Blackboard or Moodle or traditional LMS. And in our opinion, institutions are trying to make teachers create courses for MOOC platforms, but they are not teaching them how to do it. And in our opinion, creating a MOOC course is really, really different from creating a regular online course where you just put the materials there and it's like a complement for usual courses. So MOOCs mean a really different way of teaching. Like there are much weight on the multimedia part because nowadays students, especially young students, are living in a much more multimedia world than we used to live, and they're not gonna read a paper, like very long paper, instead of watching a video or a set of small videos. I think this is one of the things that made MOOCs so popular. So, and the other side is really, really hard to make a good video, and teachers they just don't have the tools or the knowledge. They need help from experts doing videos, and at least in our case, our customer didn't really. I don't know if you understand this, or they didn't really sense this importance, and as a result, the courses were not such good quality content. And the other thing the teacher needs to know is that they are not dealing like with 50 people or 100 people or even 200 people. They're dealing like with 20,000 students, and they cannot do content which is going to be focused on a single person. They need to create content that is going to be learned by themselves. They need to move the focus on learning to the students instead of the teacher, and there is no good way of doing that right now. So this MOOC thing is actually in the beginning, and there is a long way forward until we get this right. So this is one of the use cases. Is from the a University of Spain, which is only for long distance. They don't do physical courses, and they started doing this MOOC called UNET.S. This is one use case, which in later numbers. So it has been up since September 2012. They have some experimental courses in the winter of 2012, but they started doing really MOOC courses in February 2013. So in very high loads, they have like 650 active concurrent users according to Google Analytics in real time, which means much more concurrent requests, but that's a good number. So this project is the one that made it possible the system and the development of the software platform, because they hired us to develop that. So they now have like 22 courses. They have 100,000 students, like 1.3 million. Some of these are the numbers that we have for this instance. So I would say it's a MOOC instance. This is something about the architecture. All these boxes are on the cloud in Linode, and we have one box for the IDP, one box for the engine, one box only for the MongoDB, and another one for Postgres, another one for log. So this is the external services that we are using. We're using Amazon S3 for the peer review exercises, and we also using SendGrid for sending the emails, because when you have like hundreds of thousands of emails to send, you need to use a dedicated service. There is this other use case, which is a private company in Spain which is using this software, and they're having some courses, but they also do consultant and production of videos for other universities who wants to do these courses. So this is a more recent platform, and they have a course about teaching the English first certificate in Spain. And there are other cases which also use OpenMOOC. Some is from the Western Ontario University, and then there is another French case from the Institut Meunier Telecom, and then there is also another one from South America. So these are our references where you can grab some information, and I don't know, that's everything for now. So if you have any question, we'll be happy to answer.
A question: to run a successful MOOC, you need, well, content, people behind it, and also a platform. And you now talked about the platform, and you said, well, there was quite some reluctance to take it up, and the first material which was used on that platform wasn't very good quality, you said. Mm-hmm. But what has been done at the same time? Apparently you got money to develop this platform. What has been done to prepare the teachers, to prepare the material, to make it a successful MOOC?
That's a question I don't have the information to answer, because we just the software development house that we did the platform. We have this concept with this university, and we always try to tell them that the solution is not to change the software to do a traditional LMS like Moodle, but to put money on education for the teachers to teach them how to create the courses, and to hire other resources like video companies. So we tell them that's the good way to do that. But from our perspective, from Jaco's perspective, which is the company that write the software, we cannot do that. We just tell the customer that they need to focus on that. It's not just a software problem. We can write the software, but it's only a very small portion of the equation. And I would say it's not the most important one by far. They need to invest in doing proper content. But I would say that in the very close future, as soon as the MOOC curve go down, they're gonna have to realize that if they want to keep doing this successfully.
And actually, that's the question that is better fitted to the next presentation. but the content itself and what's behind enabling these services. But are there any other questions?
Yes. My name is Meoli. I come from the Kenya Education Network. I think the critical thing about what you are saying is that you want to teach very large classes. I didn't see much description about the modules you've created for automating grading, especially of mathematical and science and essays. What did you have to do on that in order to automate grading? I've seen something about peer review, but I think the more important part is to automate grading for the professors.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, right now for MOOCs and for Open MOOC, there are only a very small set of activities that teachers can use on their courses to do the grade. And the reason is very small set of activities is because it's not easy to automatically grade any activities. So we have chosen peer review activities and test activities where you have to choose like a predefined set of answers, or you have to write something. It has to be a very small word or number. So it doesn't work like if you have an open question and you have to write a very long answer. You have to do peer review for that. You cannot do in the other way. So for automatic grading question, it has to be test questions right now, and they have to be very precise set of answers that students choose from them. Any other question? Any other question? Sorry. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for the last presentation. We get back to the content. We have Thorleif Hallen and Tobias Wunden. They're going to talk to us about their lecture recording services in Norway and their evolution and their involvement with Matterhorn.
Thank you, Senan. I'm Thorleif. My friend here with the cool hairdo is Tobias Wunden from Entwine. As Senan was saying, we will be talking about an open source system for lecture recording on a national scale. I'm sad to say we don't have any slides on MOOCs today. It seems to be a trend to have that, but we can say that everything we will talk about works within a MOOC. That we'll have to do for now. I work for Uninet, the Norwegian NREN, and I work within a program there called eCampus. eCampus is a 10 million euro program, which is funded by the Ministry of Education in Norway. It's hosted by Uninet, and it's owned by the universities and colleges of Norway, of course. The aim of eCampus is to increase use and quality of technology in higher education in Norway. And we do this by networking. We get together like this, both internationally and nationally in Norway, share experiences. Can you move that to the front a bit? No sound. Better now? I think I might have too big a head off. Okay, there you go. We try to establish best practices. If someone does something that is good, we want to lift them up and show them to the rest of the country so that we can learn from one another. And we try to establish shared services. We do shared services to reduce costs. If a lot of people chip in on the same solution, it becomes cheaper, of course. We can concentrate knowledge. We don't have to have every university sit on the same knowledge to run lecture capture systems or video conferencing systems, stuff like that. We remove barriers. We make systems available to the institutions in Norway. We also have a federation in Norway, FEIDE, that we want to utilize, and we get this with shared services. And we also develop add-ons to the services that anyone within Norway can use. When it comes to lecture recording, which we are here to talk about today, we have several services today. One is Camtasia Relay. I'm not sure if you know it, but it's a really easy client that you download to your computer or your smartphone, and you're able to record anything, your desktop, web camera, sound, and you're able to publish it. And Camtasia Relay is extremely easy to use. We have had 900 users and not one reporting back having problems to use Camtasia Relay. So it's for us, it's a big system. It's a limited system. There's not a lot of functionality, but it's working really well for the institutions in Norway. We also have MediaSite, which is the opposite of Camtasia Relay. It's big, full-blown lecture capture system. Maybe the market leader when it comes to lecture capture. And with that comes, of course, so it's very expensive. MediaSite does live video on demand, and it supports different video formats so that it works on basically any device. So it works on your PC, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, whatever. We are doing MediaSite as a shared service mainly to reduce costs. We see universities that have cut their cost by 75% by using this as a shared service. And we have over 20 institutions in Norway using it now. MediaSite also have screencast like Camtasia Relay, by the way. We also, well, more like an experiment, we have VOSA. Our plan is to offer VOSA as a service to use when you have a big event like this, when you expect a load of 1,000 users or more. We are working on it and will deploy a pilot this fall, hopefully, which the universities can use free of charge for now. I've been trying to call this the lecture capture canvas. As you can see, we have different systems. We also have Adobe Connect, which I haven't talked about, but we have different systems suited for different needs. But as you can see, there's this, my canvas is sort of white in this area. And in higher education in the last few years, many people have been talking about OpenCast Matterhorn. Matterhorn is similar to MediaSite in many ways. It's, you know, you get your content and your video and sound synchronized. Sorry. It's flexible and scalable. It's open source. You can use whatever hardware you like. It's cheaper. And it is supported by a lot of big institutions in the world of education, like ETH Zurich, Berkeley, Stanford, University of Manchester had just launched a big Matterhorn thing. So there seems to be a lot of momentum for Matterhorn at the moment. In Uninet, we had some efforts on Matterhorn by Otto, my colleague here, 3 or 4 years back, I think. It was mostly like experiments. And what we saw was that it took a lot of efforts to get Matterhorn up and running. It's an extremely complex systems. And also, Matterhorn were missing some of the things we needed, like federated logins, for instance. And also, we were not sure of which direction the Matterhorn project would take. So we couldn't know if we would get the functionality that we needed. Because we had some requirements in Norway when it came to Matterhorn or any lecture capture solution. We wanted sample support. We wanted Matterhorn to be a low-cost solution, like compared to MediaSite, which is expensive. We wanted a turnkey solution. The institutions, they don't want to spend a lot of time setting up Matterhorn. They want to capture their lectures and get on with it. They want something that is robust, and many has open source as a requirement. They want everything they use to be open source. And if you want to do a shared service, you want multi-tenant support. So it would make sense to do it as a shared service. If Uninet were to host 20 Matterhorn instances, separate instances, it wouldn't make any sense for us to do it. They could do it themselves. But as I said, Matterhorn is very complex. And if you get Matterhorn, it's an open source product, you don't get any user support. You have the opencast community to back you, but you don't have anyone you can call and say, help me out with this, as you can with MediaSite, and they're more expensive support. And we were low on resources. We are basically 4 to 5 people working with the campus in Norway, and we didn't have any resources to set it up. But what we did was actually to ask the Matterhorn or the opencast community, and if we donate money to the project, can we sort of make a wish list of what we want? But what we were told were to contact Entwine and Tobias, because they had the expertise of Matterhorn. So I think I'll leave it to Tobias.
Thank you. So Thorleif actually came with that wish list he just talked about to us. Entwine, I just put a rough couple of numbers up here to give you an idea of who is standing in front of you. So you can see we're a small company. We're not very old, 2011, but we're already serving customers across 3 continents. That is mostly Europe, the United States, and Africa. 13 happy clients, not too many. But unfortunately, Entwine came out of the OpenCast community. ETH Zurich, where I was working at the time, was an active member of that community. And that work that they did eventually resulted in the founding of a spin-off of ETH Zurich, which is called Entwine. There's one more advantage. If you're coming out of that area, you get great clients. We're happy to have next to ETH Zurich, Harvard University, Berkeley, Stanford, Uninet, of course, we're very happy to have. And for these clients, we're trying to cover all of the needs that they have when it comes to lecture capture. This is starting with consulting on the AV level. So if you try to do lecture capture and you start off with bad infrastructure, bad audio, bad video, you're not getting too far. Then there's Matterhorn as a project. It's not only very complex. It is also in its infantile stages, one could say. There's a lot of room for improvement, and we're trying to fill the gaps where they appear. So we're, as an active community member, we're contributing quite a bit of code, quite a bit of expertise in all areas, and those areas cover, as I said, consulting from the very beginning, the software development itself, packaging and deployment, operations is a big thing. Matterhorn is very, very scalable, and you need scalable software. It has been mentioned today a couple of times if you want to step into the audio and video area. So what is Matterhorn? I'll not try to bore you too much. This will not be a very technical introduction. Basically, Matterhorn is media processing and management as a service. It is not an application by itself. An application usually comes wrapped in a box. You install it. It's all nice and shiny. You can call someone for support. You get lots of books, these kind of things. This is not to say that Matterhorn does not need all these things, but its focus is somewhere else. We're targeting institutions, enrons, such as Uninet, and also big universities that have infrastructure to throw at the problem, and that need something that is flexible enough to adjust to that infrastructure. So Matterhorn is built as a service-oriented architecture that can scale in many, many ways. One of the important aspects of Matterhorn from the very beginning is that there is no one solution for all the institutions out there. There are institutions that have big auditoriums they want to be recording in. Some prefer small seminar rooms. And as you can imagine, there's different hardware that you want to be using for these kind of settings, which is the reason why Matterhorn basically defines an API, a programming interface that allows different hardware devices to ingest the data, the video and the audio. So there's not one box that the OpenCast community would be selling. Instead, we tried to compile a community and compile a group of vendors that make their hardware Matterhorn compatible. And so we ended up just recently, I think, with 6 to 7 vendors that have different hardware that you can use ready out of the box. An important aspect of Matterhorn is the all formats in, all platforms out. So if you're thinking about lecture capture, you're looking at well, basically at something that is changing all the time. So just remember, everybody has an iPhone and Android. These things came out in, when was that, 2007, which is not too far ago. At the time, everybody was using Reel, right? Everyone had a Reel player. I don't have one today. I don't know if you still have one. If you have one, there's no content out there anymore that you could be watching. And if you're a little bit aware of the scene, there are new codecs coming out all the time. WebM was recently, I think 2 years ago, it came out. Now there's word of a codec running in your browser, a media codec. So things change very quickly, which is important when it comes to your infrastructure, audio and video-wise, because you need to be able to change quickly. Exceptional support for metadata is something that is written all across Matterhorn. There are different requirements when it comes to institutions, but also if you're thinking of what are you doing with lecture capture, or where are you going with it. One thing is you put content out to the students, and the other thing is students actually should be able to use your content for learning. And if that's the case, then it's much more than just a video. You want to go back to it, you want to find it, you want to enrich it, you want to share it. You basically want to be able to put anchors into your video and also link out of your video, and you cannot do that without metadata. So metadata is really, really important, and also using standardized formats for metadata is another important thing. Matterhorn may be your solution for today. Tomorrow it may be another system, and what you'll be able to do is you want to be able to take your content and the metadata stored with it to that other system. With many vendor solutions, you cannot do that because it's all stored in proprietary formats. So basically all the investments that you make into producing that content may or may not be lost. And last but not least, just because Matterhorn is coming out of the educational area, it's a growing ecosystem for media-based learning. So it's, again, not just putting the video out. There are lots of tools to be developed around lecture capture. I'll show you a screenshot of one just right now. A simple screenshot of what Matterhorn looks like, because this is what people are mostly interested in. The bullets you can read yourself. So Matterhorn offers quite a player. We put a lot of time into the player. It doesn't look as nice as other players that you may have seen, but it offers a number of nice things. First of all, you have dual stream. You're actually looking at two separate videos here. You'll notice there are some there's some segmentation on the timeline, and if you take this a little further and look at a video that is actually being run through the system, here somebody was looking for a search term, and you see all the segments in the video, which is different slides, and together with their relevance. So you could type in a word, let's say MOOC, so at least I mentioned it once during the presentation, and you'll get all the slides that have MOOC on them, or if you integrate it with voice recognition, which is also possible, you would get voice hits as well. This is another thing. It's actually not Matterhorn. This is from a predecessor system running at ETH Zurich. You get hits on the timeline as well. So if you were looking for something, let's take MOOC again, you would very quickly see that this is the video you wanna look through, because this is MOOC all over the place, whereas here it's only one slide. Down here, the same thing. So this is one step from my point of view into the right direction when it comes to dealing with lecture capture. Very briefly, just so you know the components, one thing is the ingest, so you produce the content somewhere, somehow. MOOCs are mostly produced manually, so quite a bit of money is being put into the production aspect It's being put into Final Cut and other tools. It's exported, it's uploaded manually to the platform. And with Matterhorn, that's not the case. It's built for mass recording, which is why you would usually integrate it with a scheduling system. You have lots of capture agents, as we call them. Those are the devices I was referring to before. It's integrated with the timetabling system, the authentication system. Torleif was mentioning FADA at Uninet. And all that data is then being fed into Matterhorn, the backend. This is the part that is not interesting at all. It's just basically processing the video, but at the same time also extracting all the metadata you were seeing, right? So it's going through the whole video. It's trying to segment the video. It's trying to find metadata or locate metadata along the timeline. And it's then moving things to the publishing service, which looks like this. So Matterhorn does not bring its own presentation platform. It's also not a distribution service. So there's no download server, there's no streaming server, there's no portal in Matterhorn. The one thing that we ship is the player, because we think it's the main integration point. The player is integrated into your portal, the player is integrated into the learning management systems. And if you're not using the player, then you're using some kind of platform that does both, so distribution and presentation at the same time. One example of a learning management system, feeds are still popular, so you embed feeds into your LMS as a poor man's solution, I would call it. Because we're talking large infrastructure here, it's not small institutions. A small example of a system which is a Matterhorn installation which is spread across 2 data centers. So because it's so service-oriented and because it's so scalable, you can easily come up with setups like this. This is actually in production at the University of Manchester. This is the list of things we did for Uninet. So we launched the pilot basically, or installed the software. As I said, we did quite some work on the deployment infrastructure, so it was much easier to deploy. For those that are installing software, RPM will mean something. It's a one-liner to install, which was not possible before. It took about 2 hours if you knew what you were doing. We improved multi-tenancy, as Torleif said. They asked us to add ad hoc groups for refined access control. What you usually have with directories, like federation directories, you have staff members and then you have students and maybe you have courses. But in many cases, you have different groups when it comes to accessing video material. There may be medical issues being discussed or legal issues, so you want to narrow down the group of people that can look at them. Integration with file sender is another thing that may be interesting to this audience because I know some of you are running that service. And last but not least, Uninet was nice enough to contribute major effort to the 1.4 release. Lots and lots of bug fixes have been done as part of that involvement. The main point I think about this whole thing is becoming part of that network, and it's all about connecting the dots. From my point of view, we have a great piece of software. It's
Yeah.
Do you have to stop right now?
No.
Okay.
Finish the sentence.
I would be willing to do that. So it's about bringing people together and taking this piece of infrastructure, moving it to the next level. This is just an example. It was a work done together with Switch and Swiss universities. It's about video annotation, and it's again about moving the actual video to something or to some place where students can actually take the material and start learning. I'll hand over to you, Torleif.
Yes, thank you. The pilot phase, I think when I wrote the paper for this presentation, I think I may have promised that the pilot would be about finished now. That was not the case. I will get back to why. But we have the multi-tenant setup, as Tobias was saying, which the universities want. They can do branding and security, as Tobias were explaining. It's cost effective. We have the federated logins using FADA. and as also Tobias was saying, this has been added to the soon-to-be released Matterhorn 1.4. As I was saying earlier, we want a turnkey solution, which means that we want to buy capture agents from some vendor. And this is the cause of the delays, because I think we may have been a bit ahead of the vendors. Actually, there haven't been any on the market. We have found 2 vendors now, Entropy Wave from San Francisco and Ncast from the US somewhere, that we will be using for the pilot. We're doing the pilot with 4 universities or colleges in Norway that have 2 rooms each that we will set up. And hopefully, if the pilot goes well, that me and Tobias will, of course, make sure it will go well. We will open up for all the universities in Norway in 2014. Back to my lecture capture canvas. The way it looks now, we will have Matterhorn to sort of cover more of the canvas. Tobias were telling me to drag the Matterhorn line a bit further to the left, all the way to the left, I think you said.
Everywhere.
He wants me to take away all the other stuff. I only have Matterhorn. No, but we have to, for us, it's about, as a service provider, we want to offer any service that covers the needs of the institutions. And with Matterhorn, we will have one more service that covers even more needs. It's, as you can see, it does the physical classrooms and the lecture theaters, the large rooms. It's more cost-effective than MediaSite, for instance. And it gives something else to choose from on the menu. Future work. As I said, we were hoping to move into production early next year. We're actually hiring Entwine to do support. We are still low on resources, and Entwine are still the experts on this. So we are hoping to employ them to do support. We want to integrate Matterhorn with timetabling systems in Norway, so that scheduling is automated. And also we have a concept called Mina, which is becoming more of a concept soon. I was talking to a guy from Switch earlier today, and he said we want one lecture capture solution that covers everything, so that students don't have to go here and there to get their different videos. As a service provider, we can't tell universities to use just one system. So we realize that we will have, at all times, different systems here at the bottom. So we will create Mina, which is a layer above all of these services, sort of harvesting the presentations from each system. You see the MediaSite, Matterhorn, VOSA, Camtasia Relay, and present it through one interface to the students. So that, because students, they don't relate to if a lecture was recorded with Matterhorn or MediaSite or whatever. And of course, with federated logins. So that is, we are working with a Norwegian company on that today, and we'll have hopefully a working pilot during the fall. I guess that was all.
That was it.
If there aren't any questions.
We have gone into the break, actually. It's the last session, so I don't know if it's called a break. So I would just need to ask you that, unfortunately, if you have any questions, you have to discuss them right after this session. I have to say thank you very much. I think what Uninet is doing with Entwine is very important, not, if nothing else, also for another reason, because it's showing a path that perhaps other brands could follow regarding development of services that are neither wholly procured, nor developed in-house, and it's a great thing to see that that's progressing, at least from my perspective. So before you go, I have a couple of things to announce. As you know, there has been an email also from Gyöngi. There's the opening reception tonight, which is in this exhibition center at the MEC. It starts at 8, but there's something, a surprise that starts at 8 sharp. So Gyöngi and Terena have asked us to please let you know to come earlier. So I am supposed to tell you that you can come at 7:30. So there are demos in 3 locations that you can go around and see. It's the surf booth, there's an expo booth in the main lobby. There will be Q&A sessions for posters that have been submitted to TNC. These will take place after the afternoon coffee breaks, so during the afternoon coffee breaks, so that's between 3:30 and 4 p.m. And please don't forget the open space sessions on Thursday. So if you have any great ideas, you just can go upstairs next to the registration booth. There are a couple of big charts that you can use to put your idea up there and just ask people on Thursday to vote for that so that you can have a session about that. So that is all. Thank you very much.